Hello everyone, my name is Martin, and you're listening to episode 5 of Tatami Room Jikoshoukai. I'll get to what that means exactly in just a moment. I wanted to start by saying the day that this podcast drops or comes out will mark 1 month of my residence in Nishinomote, which I think is really cool. It's a great milestone to have kind of passed and have behind me. I think that, if I can survive for a month here, I can survive for a year. And in fact, I'm already thinking of perhaps recontracting come winter, but we'll see about that as more time passes. I didn't end up getting to teach on Friday of this week. It was a self-introduction, so I will have an episode about teaching classes next week, and this week it'll be a little bit different, but I promise that it'll be just as entertaining. This week kind of marked anticipation and prep week for everyone on the island, as everyone was kind of getting their stuff together for before school started. So it was kind of everyone was kind of in a frenzy. In any case, this week I'll be talking about daily life, which will include Jikoshoukai, or self-introductions, buying a car, perhaps, and my first judo class in Nishinomote. The, I don't know how aptly named current events section will feature Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius, and I will close with the stat and word of the week. Thank you all for tuning in for this week's episode of the Tatami Room. Let's cut to the chase. Welcome back to the daily life section, everyone. I'll be starting off with Jikoshoukai. Jikoshoukai, like I mentioned, are self-introductions. You can also say aisatsu, which is meeting. I guess this is a little bonus word of the week for everyone. But I have 10 schools that I'll be rotating between and teaching at. And so basically what this week looked like for me from Tuesday to Friday was going to each school, driving around the northern part of the island and visiting every school where I had kind of a range of Jikoshokais. I was being paraded around like I was some trophy animal or something, and I had to wear a suit, which Tanegashima is kind of close to the equator, and it's pretty hot and humid, so I was not very happy about that, but we made it. The greetings or meetings, the range, there's a bunch of different types. So I had meetings where I met the principal only, where I met the kocho and the Kyoto sensei, so the principal and the vice principal, where I met everyone, so that was the vice principal, the principal, and other teachers. So they were always, and the thing is, no one told me how the greeting, what kind of greeting we would be doing. So, or at least my supervisor didn't. It's always kind of a surprise that, I walk in and suddenly everyone just stands up and I'm doing the greeting, or I walk in and I get ushered into the principal's room and I'm just giving an introduction to one person. So some principals were really friendly, and I really enjoyed getting to meet a couple of them. They were more relaxed. They asked me personally questions, they asked personal questions, and really tried to kind of get to know me. Other principals, other faculty, perhaps not as friendly. I recall there was one school that I went to where the principal didn't really talk, and in another school the principal mainly addressed my supervisor who was sitting next to me instead of asking me a question. I don't know if that's because he thought my Japanese was really bad and he didn't want to talk to me because of that, or he thought I wouldn't understand, or because his English wasn't good, and because he didn't want to have to translate anything, he was just avoiding that altogether and just talking to my supervisor. I don't know which one it was, but that one kind of threw me for a loop. I mean, I knew it wasn't, I didn't think it was anything like I did something catastrophic. Why I was assuming that it was just something that, either the personality of the principal or just some custom, I suppose. But I was mentioning it to my supervisor after, like, in America, I think if you go to like a meeting and you're meeting with someone and they do not talk to you at all during that meeting, or very little, then it's a sign that it's not going well. So that was kind of interesting. So every time I did one of these Jikoshoukai or self introductions, like I'd have the same speech drilled down, and like by the end of the week, I had this thing like fully memorized. Like a 5-minute little Japanese speech. And yeah, I forgot to mention, but I'm doing all the introductions in Japanese, just because I think they wouldn't understand. Most of the people on the island don't speak English, so English wouldn't really be a good tool, and it's good Japanese practice for me. But I had this 5-minute speech memorized. Hi, my name is 22 years old. This is my college. This is where I'm from. I'm actually Hungarian. This is my favorite sport is judo. That always threw everyone for a loop. I think it was, when someone talks about someone who is not from Japan is talking about their favorite sport, they don't usually expect judo to come up. So everyone was pretty pretty surprised when I said that. But yeah, it was really tiring, but I'm glad that I got it out of the way. If I'm completely honest, I forgot every single person's names. I'm good with faces. Like if I've seen your face somewhere before, I'll be able to recognize you, even if we didn't really know each other for long. Like that's the type of memory that I'm good with. Names, on the other hand, oh man, I'm getting a bunch of names thrown at me. So it's gonna be a whole nother process of learning 20 different principals, vice principals, in addition to the English teachers and other teachers that I'll be working with, and then that's not even speaking of all the children whose names I have to memorize. Luckily some of the schools that I'll be teaching at only have like 5 kids per grade or something like that. It's really like really small, appallingly small. But then others will have like 60 per grade or something, so it's gonna be a daunting task. Hopefully I can manage, but I have faith. And on Friday, I thought I was going to teach, like I hinted at in last week's episode, but I actually ended up doing kind of another mini introduction at this school's opening like assembly/ceremony, and I did my little spiel again. All the kids they were incredibly surprised, and I even got called up to do like rock paper scissors. And with the kids, or I'd be up at the podium and I'd do the sign, and the kids would be doing it themselves, and they'd see if they won against me, that type of thing. I put paper 3 times, but the kids got a laugh out of that. But what was interesting is, so in Japan, I think it's not like rock paper scissors; it's like rock scissor paper. And so I was trying to say like rock paper scissors shoot, and then the principal corrected me. He's like, no, here we do like rock paper scissors go. And so I almost started stuttering on stage, because like in my mind it's so ingrained, like, okay, rock paper scissors shoot, boom. But I had to make a conscious effort to kind of change that little lingo, but it all worked out in the end. In any case, I want to transition to another pretty exciting part of my week, which was buying a car. I have actually I have become the proud owner of a small light blue Suzuki. I believe this is kind of crazy to me, uncharted territory, because it'll be the first car that I'll actually own. I've been driving for about 3 years now, but that's always been using one of my parents' vehicles, and I don't think I would have believed anyone had they told me a couple of years ago that the first car I would purchase would be this small little K car in Japan. But here I am, and So I just said K cars. Some of you might be familiar with how the Japanese car system works, but basically there's normal size cars and there's K cars. The K cars are cheaper and they're smaller. They're like little box cars, almost like little bumper cars at like a summer festival kind of. But I mean they're good. They're good for me because they're cheap. And mine was about 250,000 yen, give or take. It's about 1,700 US dollars, something like that, if I'm pretty sure. I was kind of balling on a budget. Like the jet program pays a decent amount. If you're interested, you can look up the contract. It's public information, but I'm definitely not living like a princely lifestyle out here on the island for sure. I think some of that was apparent when I talked about my living situation. But yeah, it looks the car looks good, and yeah, I'm excited. It doesn't have a middle console, but it should work. So it was kind of funny how the whole purchase and the procedure went, because I asked my supervisor, like, hey, I kind of want a car to be able to get around the island. He said, okay, he'll take care of it. He didn't really talk about it, and then randomly brings it up and tells me that we have an appointment with the car center. So we go to the car center on like Monday or Tuesday. We tell them like, hey, this is the kind of car we're looking for. I'm looking for one that's like pretty cheap. And then he's like, okay, we'll get back to you. And I don't know how long that meant, but like a day or two later, he called us back and he's like, okay, found it. Here's the car. And then I got out my like inkan or stamp, and I was doing I was doing the pompon, and boom, and now I have the document with me. The car will be arriving in next week or so, I believe. So that's exciting, but I kind of hesitate on making big purchases, so it's kind of funny how I was just like, okay, I'm along for the ride, I guess. We're buying the car, I suppose. But yeah, now I have that figured out, and I'm glad for it, because that one beach that was really nice that I mentioned in a previous episode, that beach is quite far away. It's about like 6 kilometers. For my American friends, that's about like 3.5 miles, something like that. But it's not a comfortable walking distance, and that's the main point. So the car will definitely help me get there. The final thing I wanted to talk about in the current events section of the week is judo. I finally got to do some judo on my island. It was the first time, and boy, I missed being on the tatami. So it was nice to be back. Basically, I was able to meet the coach of the judo club here. It's the judo club for like elementary schoolers. It's Tuesday, Thursday, 90-minute sessions. It's a very nice coach. The class is quite small. Like there's only 5 elementary school children, but they're all very nice. So I had a lot of fun. I admit I was a little nervous at first because I wasn't sure if they would be able to understand me. It's a little hard to teach when your pupils don't exactly know what you're getting at. And I was also nervous because the coach, I think he's like a 4th degree black belt or something, but he knows his judo, and I wasn't sure how well my judo would hold up given Japanese standards, but I think I did all right. I think I demonstrated my technique to the kids, and the sensei was he approved, so I'll take that. Kind of a funny corollary is we went out with the coach or the sensei. I went out with him for some ramen, and he was there with his girlfriend, two of the kids, and like a pair of grandparents, and basically we were eating ramen, and we were just like having a good time. And like whenever, so the coach would say something funny, and when you're a couple and your significant other says something funny, you kind of give them like a nice playful slap. Well, she was doing something that was similar to that, but I think the coach said something, and I was laughing, everyone was laughing, and she started, girlfriend's also laughing, and she just smacks the crap out of him. I was like, oh my gosh. I almost I almost started laughing because that was not like a little friendly slap. Like, I don't know what's going on over there, but that, like, you could kind of hear like a little bang on when that happened. So that kind of made me laugh, and I raised my eyebrows. But I just kept eating my ramen. So the ramen was really good. So I can't blame me for that. All right, let's move on to the break, and after the break, we'll have a section about Stoicism and Marcus Aurelius coming right up. All right, everyone, welcome back to the current events section, which will feature something a little less current: Stoicism and Stoics. So the reason for this. The inspiration behind this segment is I've been reading a lot while I've been in Ishinomote, and one of the books given to me by my good friend Ria is about this, written by this cognitive behavioral therapist who examines Stoicism through the lens of Marcus Aurelius and his meditations, and I've really taken a liking to the book. In fact, now I've started listening to an audiobook of the meditations themselves. So yeah, let's get to it. We all know, or a lot of us know, someone that you can point to and say, oh, this person or so-and-so is stoic, or they are being stoic right now. But being stoic, like the character trait of, being stoic, is different than the philosophy. Someone who is stoic is resolute of character and apparently immune to physical pain and whatnot. But Stoicism, the actual philosophy, it's not just about like being this, someone unperturbed by anything. It's not someone who's like cold and frigid or something like that. But yeah, Stoicism was this school of thought founded by Zeno in around 300 BC and was carried on by the likes of Chrysippus. Zeno was heavily influenced by Socratic dialogues, ones where Socrates pulls up in his toga and owns all the Greeks, including Thrasymachus. So Stoicism kind of blew up in popularity back in the day and ended up taking over Cynicism as the dominant philosophy of the time. So what Stoicism is really about is trying to be free from suffering and pain. And to do that, you need to learn self-control so you can overcome harmful emotions and overwhelming passions. And so a way that you can do that, according to Marcus Aurelius, is live your life or direct your life in accordance with virtues. And some of the chief virtues that he talks about are things like wisdom, courage, and temperance. And all this kind of sounds like very over the top and philosophical, but I've enjoyed reading it because it's Stoicism is something that you can take and kind of apply back to your daily life. And it isn't the kind of self-help that you see on Instagram Reels where someone's like, yeah, take a cold shower a day and the problems will go away kind of vibe. It's not like that. And that's because Stoicism is as much a philosophy as it is a practice, right? Stoicism, you don't need to read the works of Seneca 5 times to become a Stoic. It's more about, or you can also practice it in your day-to-day life. And I found that a really attractive component of Stoicism. I majored in philosophy at UW, and a lot of philosophy can be very far removed from our lives, and that's why some people find it boring, and I don't blame them, because sometimes it can be. When Aristotle talks about the stars and planets and fire and whatnot, and then you're like, okay, well, how is this going to help me? But Stoicism is as much a philosophy as it is something that you can use in your day-to-day life to kind of try to be better, just bit by bit. My favorite parts so far have been this one time when Marcus Aurelius talks about this emerald and how it does not need praise from people to be beautiful, right? And it just goes to kind of exemplify that if you do something that's, let's say, an admirable action, it doesn't require the praise of others to be an admirable action. The action in and of itself is admirable. Whether others praise you for it or not, it shouldn't really matter. The action is still admirable, and you don't need others say so for that to be kind of validated, right? The other part that I really I enjoyed reading was Marcus Aurelius talking about how he takes joy in being temperate. Temperance is basically being able to withhold yourself from certain pleasures or do things in moderation, instead of eating 2 Big Macs. You say, okay, I'm only going to go for 1 Big Mac, or I'm not going to go for a Big Mac at all. And doing that action, finding joy that you were able to kind of put yourself on the right path of okay, no, I held strong this time. I think that's really cool. And so, I really recommend, if anyone has the time, to go ahead and do a little bit more research into Stoic philosophy. I found it very interesting, and I hope you do too. But with that being said, let's cut to the word and the stat of the week after a short break. All right, welcome back, everyone, to the end of the show. Let's get to our words and stat of the week. So for the word of the week, I have 3, and they're not really words. They're all counters. Counters are little particles in Japanese that you use when you are saying, when you're counting things. They vary based on the type of object that is being counted, whether it's a small object, large object, small flat object, and so on and so forth. But the 3 counters I have for you all this week are kai, which is the number of times that an event has occurred, hon, which is used for long cylindrical objects like pens and bottles, and ko, which is used for small things like apples. So if I want to say something has occurred twice, I would say ni kai, or 3 times sankai. If I have 1 pen or bottle, 1 long cylindrical object, that'd be ippon. If I have 1 small thing, like 1 apple, it'd be ikko. So all of these are counters, and the English equivalent would be like a slice of cake, or a pair of shoes, or a bunch of bananas. And we don't really think about these when using them. They just kind of come to mind, and I assume it's like that in Japanese for native Japanese speakers as well. But I've been having a hard time with them, particularly because I think they're a little bit more nuanced in Japanese than in English. But yeah, I actually made a bet with my supervisor that I would have a bunch of these memorized. How to count a bunch of counters from 0 to 12 or something. And so on Monday, if I can recite them to him, then he has to buy me a coffee from the vending machine. And if I lose, then I have to buy him a coffee. So hopefully I win. I'm feeling pretty confident. But yeah, kai, hon, and ko are your words of the week. For the stat of the week, it will be 350. 350 is the number of kanji needed for the N3 kanji test. Bear in mind, these are 350 new kanji that you need to learn in addition to the ones that you need to know from N5 and N4. So these N5s, 4s, 3s correspond to levels of Japanese proficiency, N1 being the highest and N5 being the lowest. And the reason I am using this as the stat of the week is because as of now I have signed up for the Japanese language proficiency test, or JLPT, in December, and I signed up for the N3. It's going to be quite a challenge. I have a decent chunk of the 350 new kanji I need to have memorized. I jotted down, but it's really gonna force me to push myself in terms of learning Japanese, and really make sure that I'm studying every single day, and I'm putting a good chunk of effort in. If I'm able to pass the N3, that would be a really that I would be really happy with it. So hopefully that does happen. And if I'm able to pass the N3, then N2 is next, and N2 is considered by many to be like basically fluent. So yeah, I don't know how long the transition from N3 to N2 will take, or if I'm able to pass the N3, but yeah, I'm gonna try my hardest. And apparently, someone I know who's taken the JLPT, and I think they're N1 or N2. They were recently telling me that I'm already comfortably at an N3 level, which it was good to hear, but I still think I have a lot ahead of me. So I'm just gonna keep grinding and keep putting the work in. So that's your stat of the week, 350, and let's proceed to the outro. Everything's all wrapped up now. I won't next week. I won't, and I probably can't delay the teaching episode because starting Monday I will be teaching. I think I start well, maybe I won't say the name of the elementary school, but I start at an elementary school. I'll be starting at around 10:30. So the next episode should be all about how my first week actually teaching goes. Funny enough, basically my first lessons to the students will be another like Jikoshoukai or introductions, but they will be more gamified. So hopefully it's more fun for them and for me. In any case, thank you so much for listening to episode 5 of the Tommy Room Jikoshoukai. I hope you've had a great week and that you have one next week. This has been your host, Martin. I look forward to having you back here soon. Peace and love.